Hey there everybody, it's Missy again. Thanks for joining me today. I'm back with a new layout for the Hip Kit Club, and I'm using the 2017 May kits for this. Now this layout is going to take some twists and turns, but I'm going to show you how I started it out. And I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to use those beautiful Prima watercolors, and so I printed out some black and white pictures of my youngest child being silly and goofy one day, and she was just laughing and dancing and jumping all over the place, and I thought those were cute, so I printed out a little photo strip. So I wanted to do something a little bit different, and so I pulled out my acrylic stamping block and decided to use that as a stamp. And this is another great tool that you can use other than your brush or the packaging technique, and it's going to give you a really cool watercolor abstract splotchy look if that's a look that you enjoy making. I love doing this, and so I thought I would just give it a try, and I haven't done it in a while, and I always like the results of it. And so I'm using my favorite colors here, some yellows, some pinks, and some aquas, and just creating a background. Honestly, when I started making this, I had zero creativity going on. I just couldn't get an idea flowing, and so sometimes when that happens, I just decide to make a background, and then usually something will pop into my head and I'll get an idea and I can go from there. This was just challenging for today. I don't know what it was, but I struggled to like this page, so I wind up changing it. I keep working at it though for a while, and I don't waste anything. I definitely wind up using everything, but I started off with some vellum, and that's from a previous hip kit several months ago. I always keep all the cardstock and the vellum that we get, and so that's a piece from that. And I really wanted to use some of this Chamel washi tape, and so I decided to just use this circle piece and cut it in half so I could use half on the bottom and half above the photos. But I just didn't like the way it looked. I think because there was paint on the background, it changed the colors of the circles, and I just didn't like how that looked. And the more I go on and on with this particular layout, the less I like it. And it's not the products. The products are great. Something about this page was not jiving with me, and I think mainly it was because I just was having one of those zero mojo days where nothing was the way I liked it. And I think everybody has those days, and what's going to wind up happening is I'm going to get it to a point to where I just throw in the towel and say this is not something that I'm liking. So I just let it go overnight. I forget about it, and then I'm going to come back and make it work the next day. But until then, I do try out lots of different embellishments. Some of these are the exclusive Project Life cards, the exclusive die cuts, some things from the Chamel sticker book and die cuts. I tried to make that little banner sticker work. And I love those Project Life cards. I love that white one with the different colored dot little banners on it. But I don't know. I'm just not loving this. I don't know what it is about it. Because I just made a layout like 2 weeks ago from one of Jana's sketches that had lots of layers behind it. And I love how that page turned out. So I thought I'll just do another page with some layers behind it. And it didn't flow for me. I don't know. I was trying to go a little random and just grab things and stick it down. I see so many people doing that, and it always looks great. I just can't do that. I don't know. I try to just pick random colors and random things and put it here and put it there and see how it looks, and I just don't like anything that I'm adding. I just think, you know, it doesn't look that great here, or the color's off, or I don't like how it's showing. I don't know. There was just a lot of things, and it just was putting me in a bad mood. And then when I'm in a bad mood, I'm definitely not creative. And so I have to just put it away and leave it alone, and then come back to it later with fresh eyes, and usually by that time I've come up with a new idea, or I've seen something online that jumpstarts some creativity. So at this point I thought, I'm just going to add a title and see what it looks like, and I just decided to go with these thickers and create the title Lovely Dancer, and then I just didn't like that either. It's like, no, this is just, I don't like it. So I take all the stickers off and I come back the next day. And so what I did in the meantime was I got on Pinterest and I went to Paige Evans' Pinterest. And everybody knows Paige Evans creates some phenomenal layouts. And I found one of her pages that she did a while ago. It had a bunch of punched out different size circles. And I thought, I like that idea. I'm going to try something here and sort of recreate or semi-scrap lift that page. And so I decided to go back to the background that I created the day before and just add a lot more watercolor stamping on there with my acrylic block. And I'm going to take that and use 4 punches. I've got a 1.5 inch, a 1 inch, a 1/2 inch, and then I think a 3/4 or a 1/4 inch, a really teeny tiny circle. And I'm going to punch out some different color circles here, and then I'm going to bring in some of the pattern papers as well as some of the Project Life cards and just create a bunch of different color, different size circles, and then use those as my background element. And I'm even going to pull in some red here from this red flower. This is one of the Chamel papers, and I'd already cut into that one, and so I didn't feel bad about punching out the flowers because technically this was a scrap. But I just go through some of the cardstock and some of the papers and create lots of different pattern and color circles in addition to the watercolor paper. So I didn't waste that watercolor paper that I made, but I just wound up not using it as a background. So then I decided to get brave and try this cardstock as my background. Some of you may not like this, some of you may like it. I was kind of like, oh, this is bold, but we'll give it a go. So I cannot think of the name of this cardstock off the top of my head, but it's in this month's color kit, and it's like a bright coral reddish pink color. And so I thought, I'm going to add some gesso underneath the watercolor that I'm about to add, because I want to get some different shades of color going on the background before I add in all those circles. So I'm going to use the packaging technique here and just do a couple different shades of pink. I'm going to add in a little bit of yellow, a little bit of orange, and just kind of create a messy background. And it definitely looks like a messy background here. And it's definitely, I keep saying definitely, how many times can I say that? It's going to look different once I add the circles and the picture back on top of it. So I know this looks like a hot mess right now, so don't give up on it yet, because it's gonna look better once I add things on top of it. I think so anyway. It's always tricky using a darker color background like this and adding white gesso to it, because it stands out a lot, you know, and I smudged it really thin with my palette knife, and so I couldn't really fade a lot of it out with my hands, and I didn't want to cover the entire thing. I wanted to sort of create a diagonal design with the circles, and so I just kind of wanted a diagonal coverage with the gesso. So I just add some splatters, add some of the packaging technique there, and now that I've got it done, I'm going to come back in and start adding in these circles. And you know, some of you may say you like the first layout better than this one. And I just, you know, everybody has different tastes. That's the beauty of this, is there's no right or wrong way to do it. But if it's something that you don't like, you should not feel bad about changing it. And so I didn't want to continue on with something that I just didn't love. And I like this one a lot better. At this point, honestly though, when I was making it, I thought, do I love this? Is this better? Is this worse? You know, part of me just wanted to just walk out of my scrapbook room and close the door and just say, you just don't have it today. Just give it up and step away. But I keep going and I start to glue all those circles down. And I like how this looks. I love all the colors. I did a little bit of stitching on the bigger circles, and this was something that Paige Evans also did on her circles. She did a little bit of stitching, so I thought I would add black since I've got some black circles and then some black and white in the pictures there. So add a little bit of yellow cardstock behind my pictures just to separate the picture strip from the background and make it stand out a little bit more. And then for my title, I decided to use this exclusive die cut that says Laugh Out Loud. I do try lots of things, and at this point in this layout, I struggled again on embellishments because I didn't want to add too much more because those circles are pretty busy. I really wanted to use more of the crepe paper chipboard, but there was absolutely nothing on there that I felt went with this design, or anything that matched the colors. It just, nothing kind of went with what I was going for. So in the meantime, I decided to add some black splatters. Go ahead and do that because I didn't want to get any on my picture, and I hadn't glued that down yet. So I just sort of embellish with a couple of things. I do add that crepe paper chipboard heart and then that Chamel love sticker on top of it. And then I just start to, you know, I try out some enamel dots. I try out that little arrow, and it just muddied it up even more and made it look too busy because it's very busy right now. I know all those circles are busy. And I'm glad that I have black and white pictures because they do contrast nicely with all that color. I'm going to add some thread, and this is black thread in two places there. But you know, the more I think about it, my pictures of my daughter, I know I talk about them a lot, but she's got a very loud personality, and she's a very bright and colorful person. And so, you know, this type of layout suits her because that's just how she is. And so she's messy and she's loud, and yeah, so it suits her. I do cut up some foam there to pop up the title, and when I did that, I got some black ink on the A, but that's okay because it's like right in the middle of the A. That little border scallop piece there is from the exclusive puffy stickers, and I thought I would add that in. And then I've been wanting to use this camera, but I could not make it work, so I'm just going to cut it up and cut out the center of that, the circle. It says captured this. I'm going to use that since I've got circles going on. And again, I just go through everything over and over and over again and try to find other things that I can add. I'm going to add in these little @ signs with the circles from the Chamel sticker book because each one of them was a color that I had already used and it matched. And then I'm going to add in a couple of these little stickers that have little phrases on them. I'm getting close to being done. I do add some journaling, and I do add some pink thread under the title there just to add a little bit of texture without changing color or being too busy. And I believe we're getting close. I'm going to glue that down, and then that is going to wrap it up, other than my journaling, but I do add that. And that's the final page. If you like mixed media and you like getting messy, hopefully you enjoyed this. You may have liked the first one that I tried out better, and that's okay too. You can let me know. I like how it turned out. Even though it was a struggle, I'm satisfied with it, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching the process, even though I went back and forth a lot and struggled. Yeah, so let me know if you have any questions about any of the products or anything that I did on here, and I'll be happy to answer you. I appreciate you guys watching, so thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.